So the whole purpose of this, right? Because I'm surprised you haven't made another video. We're like talking about the raid just because of how many people are talking about it. Because when I streamed, when I made a chapter review, like people were spamming Morj is eating this chapter, or Morj, or the raid is gonna fail this chapter. And the thing is, I've seen the same people say, "Oh, okay, Morj, he has no idea what he's talking about with this raid failing." And the same people, they're coming back and they're saying Morj is a genius. So
it's I don't know. First of all, like, so the raid failing, this whole thing, it's done a real number on my reputation. Right? I'll be honest. It's
a lot of people is riding on it, Morj.
Yeah, no, it's worrisome to me because I'm just like, oh, this turned into a whole new thing. Because like, you know, back in the day, to an annoying extent, I'm sure, for established YouTubers, it was like, oh, this guy Morj, he's such a whatever, and all.
He's a One Piece god. Remember, because I
think this guy knows what's up.
Because Roger tweeted about it recently, like the Reddit versus One Piece YouTuber thing, and you were in the middle of it. This is before, I think before you started YouTube, where it was just like, Morj, like they're not like Morj at all. Call these YouTube guys. It's like a whole thing.
Not, whatever. Well, you know, these things go in cycles, right?
Exactly.
So now people tell me that, but they say it about Randy Troy. So I don't even know what that guy does.
That is true. So, that is true.
Yeah, no, the raid feeling, that like me pushing that for so long, like it's accidentally just turned into something that like a lot of people are either gonna like praise me for or like axe me for. And like I'm just like, I just I don't know, like have this theory and like
well, the thing is because of how bold it is. And I think now you've been painted, because now I'm like, should I even be talking to Morj? Because Morj is now the final villain of One Piece. That's what people are calling you, because you want Killer to die, and you
Dude, I just want some drama. Well, is Oda gonna kill off Raizo? Oh man, we're gonna shed some tears over that. That'll be a tragedy.
Well,
I don't know if we'll even cry over Killer or anything like that, but I do think what it can do for Kid's character, the ramifications that can come out of that can be really juicy stuff.
You still have hopes for Kid's character?
Yeah, a lot of so much in my mind rides on the idea that like they do not just all win here. If they all just win here, then I mean, like, I'll be blunt. Like, I think that Wano's story is severely lacking in a lot of areas. If this is just and it would require a long video to kind of break down all my thoughts. So I'm not going to get into anything here, because if I say anything here, then it's kind of just like
it's just one part.
Easy to, it's just like it's easy to argue against stuff when you're just dropping little pieces of, you know, your thoughts or feelings or whatever. It has to be a bit more comprehensive. But yeah, I mean, and also I should also acknowledge that, like, oh, this isn't just something, like, I have brought this upon myself a lot, in that, like, once I realized that the raid feeling, like, people were really, like, getting worked up about it to a degree, then I liked playing into it, because it's just like, you know, you got a thing going, and kind of double down and just keep playing it up. And then, you know, if it's right, then that's like a huge win. If you're wrong, then like just take the loss, keep going. But I will be honest, like when I say win and loss, right, like sincerely, I'm not trying to say this to just sound like I don't know, like I'm trying to detach myself from it or whatever, but I sincerely believe that it would be a win for the Wano arc. Like it would be a W for the Wano arc or the raid to fail. Like even aside from myself, I don't care if I become a meme for the next like 6 months or something.
Yeah.
Like that. I don't care. Obviously, I'd care a little bit because that's not fun, but like,
of course, seeing that in the comments.
What I would care about more is that like the series that I really love
delivers.
Like with an arc that's been built up for so long, it just ends without really any sort of point of real tension or dramatic, a need for dramatic growth for the protagonist or anything like that. And that would just be very disappointing to me.
So with the raid failing, a lot of people feel like based on how things have been going, it's like it seems more and more far-fetched. Then we get a chapter like we did last week with Luffy losing to Kaido. I was interested to see how you reacted to that, because when I saw it, I was like, I don't think this is an indication that the raid is going to fail. So I was like, okay, let me see what Morj says when he sees this. And your reaction was what I expected. You're like, come on, this isn't the raid failing. This is just like Luffy losing like he does all the time. So okay, so I have a question about the raid failing. Like, what was the first inclination for you to say, okay, this is going to fail? I've
had 3 videos, like people say I say this all the time, I drop it all the time in mix of other videos, but I've had only 3 videos that are like fully dedicated to, you know, I think the raid's gonna fail, right? So the oldest one was partway through Act 2, when I think I don't know what when the inclination first started. It
Yeah.
honestly might have been when the raid was first announced, way back in Act 1. Like, I just wasn't a content creator back then, so it was,
It was a
I was
while
like,
ago.
okay, at some point I'll make a theory about the raid failing. It happened to come out partway through Act 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, during Act 1, it was more so. Okay. So basically, Act 1, when that raid was announced, kind of just assumed that this would not work out, kind of just because of the way that I feel that in general One Piece arcs go.
Yeah.
Which is that I've talked about this in depth, but I think that usually whenever they come into an arc, you can go back as recently as Dressrosa or Whole Cake Island. There's always a plan. There's always a plan, a goal or something like that they feel like they're going to accomplish. It never works, and usually the arc picks up after that
After
point.
the plan fails.
Yes, after the plan fails. Talked about it at that point, which was, we're going to be ambushing them during this banquet. And I think there's Sanji even saying, okay, so that sounds great. Like, we'll just take them out when they're weak and vulnerable and such. So even just the way that it was being phrased made it sound to me like this didn't make sense as being the final point of the arc.
Yeah.
And I think even just the fact that Kaido swooped in and immediately after took Luffy out, right? I think that added to it for me, because to me that's kind of like
the first time. The first time he did.
Yeah, first time
Like,
he did it. To
it's
me,
like
that was kind of
9:23 early. That's really
really. I think exactly that chapter. To me, that was kind of just the way I took it. Was basically, normally you would always want something like this to happen partway through the arc.
Right.
If Oda's having this happen so early, in my mind, this would be sort of kind of a red herring almost to make readers feel that, okay, Luffy's already lost to Kaido once, therefore they're going to win at the raid. Yeah, that was my feel for it, because really, like, Act 1, the story hadn't started. I would equate it more so almost to like Luffy losing the Aokiji at the start of Enies Lobby. Like, this was before the plot of the story even started. So it's not the same as failing to save Robin, at the Galila ship house, or like during the sea train and stuff like that. Like, the story hadn't really started. So that's kind of where I was at. And then as the story progressed, here's the difficulty to me, which is that I feel like a lot of what's happened has been Oda telling us that this is the final battle, but not really making it feel that way. And that's basically where I'm at. So when Oda's telling us that, Kinemon saying we have to win right here, but then at the same time, like, everybody's very positive throughout it. You have Hyogoro saying, like, I feel like we can't lose here. There's just a general vibe of, like, obviously this
overwhelmingly
is
positive.
Yeah, overwhelmingly positive, overwhelmingly easy.
Yeah.
Even just Chopper stuff adds into that. I think that, like, I'm just never getting the feel, because you can say I'm being nitpicky, but I'm comparing it to literally any other One Piece arc. It does not feel this way in the ending phase of Enies Lobby. It does not feel this way in the ending phase of Alabasta.
Right.
It does not feel this way in the ending phase of, like, Arlong Park. Like, there's a story that's just missing here in my mind, where we missed the part where some dramatic tension was actually built up for these characters.
I agree with that, because with Luffy going against Kaido the entire fight on the rooftop, I said it's not going to feel real until there's a daunting moment where you feel like Luffy has lost, ultimately.
Yes. Yeah.
And that chapter happened. So now I'm like, okay, what's next? Because that always has to happen. Luffy loses and you feel like it's over, and then obviously he bounces back and does something spectacular. It would be amazing if Oda goes a different route and they completely get annihilated. Somebody said because Ulti and Page 1 are now taken out, the final matchups for Nami and Usopp, those aren't in play anymore. So that could lead to maybe the arc being extended a bit. Now I start to think about, okay, Wano's already over 100 chapters. How much longer is this going to go? Because we have, like 15 chapters left this year, 15, 16 chapters this year. Is Wano really going to go like towards the middle to the end of 2022? If the raid actually fails, then you have to kind of like build things back up again, or like regroup, and that's going to take a bit. Is that actually possible in that situation? So
to me, basically, the length of Wano was never thought about the length of Wano as being anything that I never felt like it mattered.
Okay.
Like, it's obviously not going to go 500 chapters or like 400 chapters or something like that. But to me, it's just the length of the arc will match the scale of the setup.
Yeah.
Sort of. So I think what people were saying at the start of Wano that it can't be longer than 100 chapters, because Dressrosa was 100 chapters. And I think that was just ridiculous reasoning, because Dressrosa was a stopgap on the way to Wano. It was literally a setup arc on the way to Wano. So if
Wano's
anything,
the culmination.
Exactly. If anything, the fact that these other arcs, Dressrosa, Whole Cake Island, they're so long, 100 chapters, 80 chapters, things like that, that Wano's going to be an entirely different beast. It's not comparable to any, like, there's no point in saying, well, past arcs have been this long, therefore Wano, it's just not relevant, because Wano's, there's no arc that's had anywhere close to the build-up that Wano has had.
I agree with that.
So to me, it would be very strange, to be honest, if Wano was close to Dressrosa, because Dressrosa was a one-day event. It was literally a one-day event on a very small island with half the cast of characters. There'd be something wrong almost if Wano was only about as long as Dressrosa, because then stuff really got cramped. So like,
I agree with that.
So yeah, that's how I feel on that. Oh yeah, the ulti page 1 stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, to me that was the takeaway from this chapter, that like, okay, page 1 was down. Oh, and ulti it looks like it might be down. Those 2 matchups might not be happening.
Yeah.
Maybe they get back up, but I don't know. But the bigger thing to me, like you were saying, like the daunting moment, right? The bigger thing to me was what Kaido said at the end of the chapter, and that's what I'm kind of like pinning my hopes on to a degree, which is what Kaido said at the end of the chapter is not typical of when a villain defeats Luffy. Yeah. Because usually if you're Oda and you're trying to at least make it feel like hope is lost, or like they've, the Luffy's really down, he's down bad, or whatever, like, then like what you're gonna do is more so like, it's typical of a crocodile situation or something like that. Like what Kaido was saying more so was kind of like, this does nothing to the alliance, like this isn't gonna shake your hopes at all. That's very, very strange. What he was saying was they need to see him defeated. Specifically, they need to see his head, but what I took away from it was that they need to see him lose for anything to change.
Which is logical.
That's a big deal.
It makes a lot of sense. That's how we've been feeling about like them losing hope, seeing it's almost like with them we felt like with Katakuri. That's why a lot of us felt like the mirror world, like Katakuri would either be sent out the mirror world or Luffy would, because they have to see him be defeated. And we saw in Whole Cake Island, they were like, nah, he did something. He didn't really beat him.
It would have been a good ending, I think.
It would have been great. So now with Kaido saying that, I'm like, okay, how do you follow this up saying, I should have taken his head? Because I'm like, all right, so now I'm expecting something for you to be a bit more violent the next time you come around, to show that, hey, he cannot fight me. He cannot hang with me. So that's what I'm hoping for, that the next time they encounter Kaido at least, I don't know, kill someone to show that he means business this time. Because like you said, people mention Ashura Doji and, I don't know, Yasu. I'm just like, those are cool. Personally, I don't think Ashura's done.
No.
Right? I felt like Hirogoro should have been gone for sure. I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought that was it for Hirogoro. I feel like he'd accomplished everything we needed from him. But people are saying, well, he shouldn't be taken out because Luffy should be there to witness it. I was like, I don't know. I don't know why that's necessary. But the stakes, it doesn't match the arc so far. But I'm not sure if Oda's hoping that the loss of Odin kind of makes up for what's happening now. It's like, okay, the raid that initially failed is the raid by Odin, which I'm like, it doesn't feel legitimate.
That backstory always happens, like in every arc, and like that's not really that's like it gives context and like added dramatic weight, but it can never be like the source of like what's right, because the strides aren't driven by Odin. It's just the scabbards that are driven by Odin.
Right.
And like one thing you said though was right, was like the stakes don't feel there, and like I think that what people kind of again, it would take like a long video to really explain what I mean. But like what people confuse is like the stakes, like I guess the factual in story, like people, when I say stakes or something, they're like, well, it's 2 Yonko, how many more stakes do you want?
Right.
Like that's not the point. They're just the big villains that we're facing right now. Like obviously we're at this stage of the story where like now the villains threat level has scaled up. It's not about the threat level, because like taking on Yonko right now, that's no different than taking on like Crocodile back then was equivalent to a Yonko right now. Like Arlong back then was like he was the boss of East. Like it's kind of like in Dragon Ball Z, just because like a new guy shows up that can like blow up a galaxy versus a world, that doesn't mean that the actual stakes you feel in the story are different. That has to come from the actual storytelling, right?
And how it progresses.
Like, exactly, and like how the characters are feeling throughout the story, how they're being made to feel, what pressure they're being put under, how they're like all that stuff.
It doesn't feel like a lot of pressure right now. It feels like everything is going pretty smoothly. To be honest, even after Kaido went hybrid and he came back, they were still fighting hybrid Kaido. It was like, okay, it kind of took away from the transformation a bit. That's why some people were upset. Was like, okay, we see hybrid Kaido, but like he didn't really do much, and Luffy wasn't a part of the fight. So some people were opposing that, saying, "Oh God, you guys get mad at everything." We're like, bro, it's okay to not like things and call things out. Where it's like this didn't it's not basically covering the things that we wanted to cover. It's not doing the things that we expect it to do.
And I hate when it gets dragged into like, oh, you're like a power scaler then if you expected hybrid Kaido.
Oh man,
like, what are you talking? Like, what? That's not what like. One, there's nothing wrong with power scaling, and two, that's not expecting a villain to be a threat to increase the stakes of like the dramatic tension of an arc. That's nothing to do with power scaling.
It's like when they say people, oh, you just care about power scaling, when it's like a default answer. When somebody says something about like just that immersion, you want it, you want to keep it there. You want to feel, again, you talk about the stakes, the tension. And for Wano, I mean, this past chapter, I think I felt that a bit with Luffy losing. It was a chapter with Ulti and Nami when Ulti had headbutted Usopp and Nami. That chapter, I felt it a bit there. I was like, okay, I'm not sure. I think that Nami moment, in my opinion, was better than that one she had with Tama. I enjoyed that a lot more.
Yeah.
But I think so far we need a major death.
Yeah. There's been a lot of individual moments that I've liked. And by the way, with the hybrid thing, the reason I kind of give that one a pass almost for myself is just like I think Kaido's awakened form is really where it's going to be at. Yeah. So in my I kind of just give that. I think it almost fits in my mind more so the idea that like
something else is
set up to go downhill. Yeah, because the hybrid form in theory that was the big card up his sleeve, but the fact that turned out to be not like it wasn't as impactful. Right. Really, I think that fact again to me gives me hope that like there is something much bigger coming down the line. So I would hope that like Luffy gives it one more go with Gear 4th, and that is where we would get potentially a Kaido flashback and also final form awakened Kaido or whatever.
Yamato, all that different.
Yeah, exactly. And then hopefully something like knocking Luffy down through the roof. I would hope Onigashima itself comes down soon afterwards. Start the next phase of the arc where after Alliance sees Luffy defeated. These are my hopes. I understand that like maybe it doesn't go that way at all.
I think that would be next level. That would definitely be next level. We've talked about Hunter x Hunter before and how the stakes of like, let's say Chimera Ant and, where the entire arc, you knew that, Gon and Killua could not do anything with any of the with them. So it was just like it had to be unique ways to figure out how to kind of end that arc and get rid of these, these major antagonists, which I thought, obviously it's one of the greatest shonen arcs of all time.
There's nothing like Chimera Ant. I saw people saying some blasphemy like Shibuya incident arc is comparable. I'm like, it's not even close.
I'm not. I haven't read it. I haven't read it yet, and so I don't want to. So I'm like, but I think just saying that soon is disrespectful.
No, it's a joke. I'll tell you right now. Shibuya Incident Arc is great. I really, really like it. It's great. It's close in terms of the feel you get of what you just described, which was like the sense of. Well, actually, I won't even get into anything really, but like the overwhelming feel and like dramatic pressure throughout that arc. Yeah. Really, really like 10 out of 10. Okay. But Chimera Ant, there's just a depth to the writing that is it's not there whatsoever in the Shibuya Incident arc, like not even close. Like so that's where I'll leave it at.
You heard it here first, guys. Chimera Ant analysis coming from Morj really soon.
No,
all right, Morj. I'm gonna let you go. I appreciate you us talking about this. We're gonna have some more talks about different things, but I really wanted to talk about the raid just because how many people were talking about it and people were just to get a thought or a sense of how you felt about it based on just how much reaction it's garnered throughout the community. Because I go to any comment section now, it's like, Morj is the final villain, or Morj wants the raid to fail, etc. So, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, anytime, man.
So I didn't get to say it earlier, but subscribe to Mr. Morj. The link to his channel will be in the description box down below. Thank him again for coming on the channel. You guys can give me suggestions as far as like if you want me to talk to other people. Probably not going to be as frequent, but when I have time and when I kind of feel like it, we'll do it. But link to Mr. Morj's channel in the description box down below. I'll link his raid failing videos as well in the description box. If you want to check them out, you can. Thanks to Mr. Morj. You guys like the video, subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Follow me on Twitter at BragoDAce. Follow me on Instagram at BragoD.Ace. Thank you to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much, guys. Like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
I start doubting me, I felt lost.